Hey everybody, it's Nick from Android Headlines, and we're bringing you our review of the LG G6. LG's return to the positive consumer mindset appears to be here and in full force with the G6, a phone that's obviously modeled after a number of consumer electronics trends over the past year or so. Sporting a brand new metal and glass build that we've never seen before from LG, the G6 builds on the general design language of the G5 from last year and improves upon it in pretty much every single category. While we rather liked the G5 last year, the general consensus seems to be fairly negative toward the product, and it's here where LG seems to have listened the most. The metal modular design of last year's product was awesome in concept, but in practice it seemed to have had more than a few issues, with many folks citing build quality issues and general difficulties when using it. This year it's a completely sealed unit with no modular capabilities to be found, and it's this new design that's going to pack in the brunt of the improvements and changes from LG. So what makes the LG G6 so good? In this review, we're going to focus on the new build, the giant screen with tiny bezels, and that upgraded camera experience. Starting with the build itself, it's pretty obvious LG is going for the full premium treatment here. Metal frame, glass back, IP68 water and dust resistance, and bezels that are barely noticeable when compared to most phones on the market. Upon first glance, I thought the phone was a bit on the thick side, but after using it for a few days, this faded away, and much of this is due to the flat design instead of LG's more traditional curved backs. Aside from a good-sized 3300 mAh battery inside, it's also IP68 water and dust resistant, meaning this is a fully sealed unit. What's interesting are the regional changes for the G6. US customers get wireless charging built in, with support for both Qi and PMA standard chargers. Many international models, on the other hand, will feature a quad Hi-Fi DAC that's similar to the one found in the V20. LG includes a regular 3.5mm audio jack on every G6 regardless of region though, so you can use existing headphones or plug into the USB Type-C port for digital headphones instead. There's a single bottom firing speaker here, which sounds good for a mono speaker as the V20 and G5 proved last year as well, but be careful getting water inside of it as the sound quality is completely ruined when it gets wet, and it takes quite a while to dry it out, even if you blow it out or try to force the water out with loud volume. The screen on the front is a thing of beauty for the most part, and it looks really good for an IPS LCD panel. It's no OLED panel for sure, and the difference in overall quality when going back to something like a Google Pixel is pretty obvious, but there are still plenty of good points here. Absolutely excellent outdoor brightness and really accurate colors and white points lead the way in positives here, and that Quad-HD Plus resolution is simply excellent as we expect from a modern flagship. The aspect ratio is a new thing, sporting an 18:9 aspect ratio, or 2:1 for those of you out there who like better fractions, meaning that the software home buttons essentially now have a dedicated area to reside without taking up space for that 16:9 content above. LG has used the new aspect ratio to fill in the bezels around the frame, giving this phone some of the highest screen-to-body ratio ever. Android apps are built to scale to any resolution or aspect ratio that's presented to them, unlike iOS apps for instance, and generally will scale properly to fit this new aspect ratio without issue. Some apps like Mario Run for instance are built specifically for 16:9 screens and don't scale for whatever reason, so LG has built in a few options that appear upon the first time launching any app that doesn't scale right. By default, the phone will scale apps to a 16.7:9 aspect ratio to fill up 95% of the screen, with small black bars above and below if the app goes full screen. Other scaling options include full screen 18:9, which if the app doesn't support it means it's actually zoomed in, cutting off the left and right sides just a little bit. While this wasn't a problem in anything I tried, you may run across a few apps that have this issue. The display also has rounded edges, however this is more of an aesthetic change and doesn't really affect apps in any way. Software-wise, this is nearly identical to what we saw on the V20 last year, launching with Android 7.0 Nougat and LG's latest skin, version UX 6.0. What's particularly interesting about the software is its use of the new aspect ratio when it comes to multi-window mode, which, if you could guess by the 2:1, splits the screen into two perfectly portioned squares. While this is a subtle difference from a 16:9 screen phone with this feature, the extra space can make all the difference when trying to use two apps at once. LG's skin has been refined a bit more over the previous versions, and yet again sports a mix between stock Android and a skinned look. Some users may not be happy with the high contrast, mostly black and white scheme LG is using, but it certainly makes things easy to read without a doubt. A huge positive point here is that this screen supports both Dolby Vision and HDR10 standards, meaning you can watch all of Netflix and Amazon HDR shows and movies in their full quality, so long as you have sufficient bandwidth to do so, of course. Motion resolution of the panel is fantastic too, and doesn't sport any of that nasty blurring we've seen with so many high-resolution IPS panels over the past couple of years. Battery life, on the other hand, was disappointing in general, especially given the fact that this phone packs a 3300 mAh battery. For a phone with a 5.7-inch screen, this size battery should be more than enough to get through a full day without issue, almost no matter what you do. As it stands, the phone died on me nearly every single day around the end of a typical workday, requiring a top-up to get through the end of the evening. Power-saving modes will automatically warn you and kick in when asked to, but this battery life issue doesn't normally happen on phones now, especially LG's phones in the previous generation or two. It's unfortunate, but at the very least, it supports USB Type-C quick charging, so a 30-minute charge would get you through about half a day or slightly less based on our consumption. LG's camera game changed a bit this time around, switching out their typical 16-megapixel sensor for a 13-megapixel variety, but unfortunately keeping the smaller 1.12-micron pixel size. This means the potential for crazy low-light shots is diminished when compared to sensors inside some other phones, but LG's software seems to make up for anything physically lacking with some really smart algorithms. The processing of the photos can be a bit heavy at times, giving a watercolor look when zooming in, but unlike Samsung software, it seems to retain most of the detail when canceling out noise. Shots from the G6 look absolutely phenomenal in any light as a result, and the new Sony IMX258 sensor inside really packs a punch. I was consistently impressed by the results no matter where I was, and LG's software design is better than ever too. Now offering a way to make use of that new aspect ratio, you'll find a tile of the last few pictures taken on the side of the viewfinder, a quick way to see what's been taken and switch back and forth between live viewfinder and the results. Focusing is lightning fast and super accurate, giving me the focus I want pretty much every time without needing to adjust. Manual mode is here in all its glory too, providing nearly every little thing you can think of for image adjustment. This even goes for the video mode too, where manual recording options are all present and allow you to granularly adjust every piece that makes up the puzzle, including ISO, shutter speed, manual focus, white balance, and more. Manual focus has some amazing focus peaking, but works best in picture mode as there's no live recording focus peaking for video mode, which is a bit unfortunate since it's a useful tool. LG has outfitted the G6 with a wide-angle camera on the back as well, giving users the ability to utilize that ultra-wide 125-degree angle lens for wide shots. Just like we saw on the G5 and V20, this wide-angle camera looks absolutely phenomenal in practice and delivers results you simply won't find on any other phone. It's easily one of my favorite features of the G6, and the upgraded camera sensor here looks great, even without the optical image stabilization of the other sensor. This upgraded sensor results in significantly better shots than previous LG phones with dual cameras, and in general produces images that look great. LG has tweaked the zoom feature a little more over what we saw on the V22, giving users a better zoom mode that seamlessly switches between cameras as you pull that zoom slider around. The front-facing camera too is just as good as ever, providing a wide-angle lens that you can get your group shots in without issue, and has lots of features to help take the awkwardness out of having to press the shutter button when holding the phone way out. In the end, the LG G6 is a very good phone that has lots of positive points to it. Folks that want that super wide angle lens will love the results here, and the manual camera mode is better than ever. The cameras here are simply stunning and rank among the very best we've seen here this side of the Google Pixel. The new updated build is nothing short of excellent, and LG's improved screen technology is their best yet, offering a great new aspect ratio and a small relative frame. LG's great design is showing full force here, and they're delivering one of the best phones they've ever made with the G6. We hope you enjoyed that review and will subscribe to us for regularly updated content. Check us out on your favorite social media network, and don't forget to check out AndroidHeadlines.com for 24/7 Android-based news coverage. Thanks for watching, and until next time.